Good morning, guys. It is another Thursday where we do some podcasting here. No Mayans. Mayans is over. But that doesn't mean we can't talk about some of the characters from the Sons of Anarchy and Mayans. And this is today's the day where we talk Marcus Alvarez. And I can't think of anybody better to talk about Marcus with than Sandra, who is another big, huge Marcus fan. How's it going? Good morning, Sandra.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me into this awesome discussion. Marcus has been a huge part of me watching Mayans MC, so I'm very excited to talk about him.
Yeah, Marcus, of course, played by Emilio Rivera. He has been when I watched the Sons of Anarchy. One of the characters I absolutely love because the Sons, like all the actors and characters on the show are awesome, but one of them was that really caught my eye was Marcus. Man, Marcus had just this presence. He really commanded the screen. He was a villain for the first two seasons, and he kind of was all good with the Suns. Like I love the war aspect. He wasn't scared of Clay or anybody on that crew. He just and then as we get more of his a little bit more, I guess, of what how his whole charter, came to be and who he was partnered with in Mayans, you kind of learn like he at one point he did kind of want to, the Suns wouldn't let him in, and because of that, they lost a huge asset. But Marcus has done good for himself throughout his life. So what does Marcus Alvarez mean to you, Sandra? When did you think say like this is the badass character I absolutely adore?
So it's funny because being a S.O.A fan, of course, you will go with any of the characters of Sam Crow.
Yeah,
So that is I mean, you cannot be like, I watch S.O.A, but I was a Mayans like fan of all.
yeah.
But Marcus always been the one that I remembered, even like when you didn't pay attention, Marcus was a huge character in the show. And the one thing that I saw with him throughout all the season is his loyalty
Mm-hmm.
to what he believed and his family morals. He's
No.
the one
Oh yeah.
that
Okay.
is the family man from in and out. You like when we saw like when they had the party in the park, he was there with his family, his wife, his kid, everything had to do with his family, and he for him that was very important, and that's one of the trait that you really didn't see with Sam Crow, but you saw with Marcus.
Well, it's crazy because his family, yes, he has his like family, his kids, his wife, and then you have his club. His club is his family. Like it is like those two go hand in hand, as we see throughout the series of Sons of Anarchy, even Mayans, is that he 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 when it comes to like business and helping his club and all that stuff, like he will go be above and beyond. So good morning, Angie. Good morning. I'm gonna say Jesus, but Jesus maybe. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. We're talking Marcus Alvarez. I'm here with Sandra, and Marcus. The one thing I really liked going back and watching a little bit of Sons of Anarchy, because I watched Sons of Anarchy. I've rewatched it maybe three times in my life. Going for number four, but going back, seeing a little bit, I really love the interaction has with Clay. I think those two, especially when they're in a cell together, right? And they make a pact, they make a deal. Marcus, of course, had his son try to make a hit on Clay, and was it Darby, I believe,
Darby, yes.
Darby, and that didn't work out. And I thought throughout the series, I always really liked Marcus and Clay's interaction. It's like two head honchos, right? It's like those kind of back in the day Western days, and those two they're both smart men. They're both smart. They're both lead their club. It's always a business side. Marcus always wanted the gun trade. He always wanted to have he is at war with the Niners. So that was like back in Sons of Anarchy time, right? And then even going pushing forward a little bit, I really like the interactions with him and Bishop, especially with his last season. So Marcus Emilio does a fantastic job, and if you listen to his interviews, he's basically Mark. He's basically playing himself when he talks, how he presents himself. He's a quiet danger, in my opinion. Where a quiet danger is basically he doesn't have to yell at you to get his point across. He is a very very dangerous man. It's that thing where just because he's quiet doesn't mean he doesn't have to fight. And he absolutely his mind, his tactics are absolutely dangerous. What were some of your favorite interactions with Marcus, Sandra?
Well, and like you said, his presence demand respect
Yes.
without saying a word. Just the way he stands in front of you, like the mental image I have right now is that street face to face with Clay when they were
Ooh.
protecting Zobel.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
face to face, both of them commanded respect to each other. They didn't have to yell, they didn't have to say anything. The cops were all going crazy because you had the face to face, but the two of them were not afraid
Yeah.
because they were commanding their own respect.
Patting them down,
So,
make sure they didn't have guns.
exactly.
Make sure everything was civil.
Exactly. And for me, that's one thing that has been through everything is calmness. And like you said, Emilio didn't have to act or play a character that was the opposite of him. I'm
Hmm.
sure as a person wise, he's the calmest guy ever, and that's what he represents. So for him, it was like just an extension of his personal life. I'm sure we're not gonna go with like he was a criminal and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
as a person wise, he didn't have to go out of being a comfort zone to be able to play that character.
Yeah, and it just feels like Emilio is kind of like that, absolutely like that. And his look is what gets me too, because his look is a look. It reminisces of my dad. My dad has the same look. Excuse me. My dad has the slick back hair, has the mustache with the goatee. That's a Chicano kind of look, and that really that kind of brings in like movies like I've seen like American Me, even like Blood In Blood Out, all that stuff. Uh, you know, it's kind of like a back in the day kind of look, but presented in the present. Like he has that look where he represents like, you know, for me it's attachment because he looks like my dad. He kind of a little bit talks like my dad, but my dad's a little bit more, I guess a little bit more. He has a better like kind of or not better, but he talks like a little bit more faster and stuff. But Amelia has a look, and then especially when he has that Mayans, he has that Mayans cut on, like he just oozes like just he's a character who doesn't get a lot of shine as he's one of the main characters, but he's not like let's say like a Bobby or a even Opie at the time, like because it was all about Sam Crow, right, in Sons of Anarchy, of course. And then when you think Mayans, you think you would get a lot more spotlight, but he's kind of he not. I mean, even especially this season, Sandra. This season, he didn't get too much of like he was there. He came in when he had to for the story's sake, but he hasn't been the major focus. So I guess my question is to you: is let's go away from Sons of Anarchy real quick and let's talk about Mayans. Did you think when you heard that they were going to make a spin-off to Mayans, uh, did you think he was going to be the lead before any of the casting choices were, or any of the casting and all that stuff? And do you think he needs to be a bigger part of the series, or you think it's fine where it is right now?
I definitely, when they say we're gonna have a side story, Mayans, I thought that was him. It would be the main character. There is no
Yeah,
doubt about it. I thought we were going to see how he manages his charter, and because he was still the president. So you think Mayan, you think Marcus Alvarez. There's nobody else.
yeah, yeah,
When we started the season one and we saw that that was not, I'm like, okay, but I hope he still has a big role into this.
Hmm.
And I will always remember that first drive to the clubhouse of Mayans with his bike and his snake boots. That's the
Yeah.
image I always have of him. And then telling Easy to, like, he doesn't want to see a spike of dust on his bike. That's what I wanted. I wanted the continuation of Sam Crow and just be a story about Mayans. Um, I will be honest, I was disappointing with the way everything turned out. I was literally crying when he removed his cut and he was no longer a Mayans.
Hmm.
But I do understand that if you cannot ride your bike, you should not be at the position you are. And that's been something that had the backstory into it.
Yeah, and I mean that was Clay, right? In Sons of
Yes.
Anarchy, Clay was like he only had a good maybe when he talked about like he said to himself, I have like a good 1 to 2 years, and then I can't ride no more, and then that's it. And Clay was trying to gather as much money as he could. With Alvarez, when I heard the Mayan spinoff, I immediately thought, okay, Emilio needs to be the either the lead or the second lead. You know, he needs to be the big part of this, and it still disappoints me a little bit, because he's still not the main focus. It's an interesting take on where they took his character, especially with him and Galindo, and now with him and Nestor going forward. It's just something that I don't think me and you thought was going to happen to see that cut, get dropped because he's done so much in Sons of Anarchy, right? He's battled with the Suns, he's battled with the Niners, and he's come up with plans. He's a big essential part of the Oakland Charter, and yet he expanded as well. Like, I mean, he promote. I mean, he had Ramos with him, and then he had what's his name with him? I can't remember his name for some reason. Like
Yeah, when
Mark.
he had,
Yeah,
yeah,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, and you know what? And if you look at it, like, in all, like, the season he was there, he was like on one side, then he was another side, then he was on when he had
Hmm.
that conversation with Nero. It says, well, it's going to be brown and yellow against black and white.
Yeah.
So he's been like very the center of every fight, and now that we know that he went with the Galindo, he's with Nestor, but now with the ending of season 3 going into season 4,
Hmm.
it makes you start thinking who would be your best ally to go into a war like that than somebody who's been through a lot of war before. And now having Nestor with him, who I'm sure he has already also a lot of experience with battles and fights and stuff like
Oh,
that.
of course, yeah.
I'm wondering if we might see a reunion, but when, like Scott on the chat says, will Bishop
Yeah.
accept that of him coming back into Mayans?
That's an I think we've all been speculating what's going to happen. People say maybe Alvarez will take over the Galindo cartel, but then he's going to be battling with was it Los the LNB, I believe. I forget. LNG, I'm sorry. LNG.
Yes.
The LNG. So I mean, it's hard because the actor himself is 60 years old. It's kind of crazy to think that Emilio is 60, right? And then so it's not like it's interesting in the show because the dude is 60 years old. I mean, since he's I don't know. It's kind of crazy, right? I mean, Bishop and the crew are in such a bad spot at the end of season 3. So is Alvarez going to help him out? And now is Alvarez come in? So and also the question is Nestor going to come in? But then Nestor would be a prospect if he came in because he has to
I
start as a prospect level,
Yeah,
doesn't he?
I
Yeah.
don't know. But going back to the way that the fact that Emilio is 60, he doesn't look any different than back in
No,
2007. He
he
looks
does not.
exactly the same. You
Mark said
take
he
a
could use
picture
a
of him
scooter.
of season 1
Oh
to
yeah.
now. It hasn't changed. He hasn't aged. He is like He could play the character for the next 10 years and he still wouldn't change.
I think the only thing that changed is his, of course, his body. He's a little bit bigger
Yes,
now. You know, he's not as thin and you know, as youthful as he used to be. He's been in a ton of different stuff. Like not as like you know a major character, but he's been in the background in a lot of films and TV. It's funny because Emilio said his first kind of gig was, I believe, a motorcycle kind of type of show. So it kind of just kind of circled back, and this is what he's really well known for. But it's hard, you know. I don't. I'm gonna say I don't see him coming rejoining, even though like you know he let Easy live, and he's just like you know that's Nestor's like Mikey's family, and then you know Marcus goes, well, the kid's mine. Like
exactly.
that was great. That was a fantastic line delivery too. Um, but I don't. I think I guess because you know the Mayans are Bishop is that pipeline, right? It's that pipeline. So I guess it would make more sense if he stayed as a cartel. And I guess that would be the what would you say, Sandra? Would you say the cartel have bigger they're bigger in when it comes to power and when it comes to just kind of like a bigger ranking than let's say being in a club in like Mayans because the Mayans are working for the cartel technically. So would you think that Alvarez should maybe form his own cartel and territory and stuff?
I th- and that's only my opinion. I As much as having power in everything, of course, being the lead of the cartel has the most power because everybody needs your product.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. But I think with what he saw while being with Galindo
Uh huh.
and thinking about his wife, and like remember when he talked at his wife, he almost said his goodbye to her because he didn't know
Yeah.
what was going to happen when he met
Yeah.
with Galindo. I think that has shifted a lot of his mind that you know what, I think I have to slow down onto the power and think more about myself and my kid
Yeah.
than with the power. So that's why I don't see him going there. To be honest, I hope we don't have a lot of cartel storyline into season 4.
Mm-hmm.
I want the season 4 to be the war that's going to become with Mayans and the other charter. But I know there's going to be some way, somehow part of the cartel because we're still dealing, like you said, that who's going to be providing with the drugs.
Yeah. Well, the banker's swooping in too.
Yes.
Yeah, the banker is so we're gonna get cartel. It's just I don't think we're gonna get a lot of Miguel. I think me and Taylor
No.
talked about that one too, but I think it would be just if he does come back. I mean, it's weird not seeing him with the cut for sure and seeing him in the suit. I think everybody said that 1,000 times. Like we kind of miss this guy being in the cut.
I was
And
the first one to say that.
it would be Sandra was the first one to said that. Mark that down. Um, I would love for him to. I would love for because you and then you also have Diaz. I would love the conference like the conversation between those two, Diaz and Marcus, because Diaz is such a like crazy character, and you're just kind of baffled on how these two were able to form this charter, right, or to form this club. I would love to see. I would love to see more of if he does come back in, right? If he's patched back in, the more of the conversation with him and Bishop, right? I mean, those two did not end really good at the end of or in the season. Like those two were had like there's some friction, some tension. So and then the fact that he knows about easy and stuff, like what's that conversation going to look like later on, right? If of course the big old cliffhanger is if easy and the crew can somehow escape, which I'm pretty sure they will. But Marcus, yeah, it's such a I think in the back of our minds, especially throughout the season, it was always like, well, Marcus is right there. Even though he's in a suit, everybody still has respect Not necessarily Bishop, because Bishop was like he's not in the crew anymore. But they were talked a lot about that in the season. They talked a lot about Marcus not being a Mayan no more. Is that
Well,
that might be a hint for him to maybe come back?
well, let me ask you the question now, Dan.
Yeah.
So, if Marcus comes back, you have two issues with Bishop. You have the club issue and the family issue because you have to remember they're cousins.
Yes.
So you you had a family fight with the way he acted up with going behind Marcus not telling him about the drugs, and then you have the club. But
Mm-hmm.
as Bishop, the president, how would you reincorporate Marcus into the club? You're not going to put him as a prospect. That's a definite no.
Yeah.
You're
Of
going to
course
put
not.
him back into the club with a cut. That's fine. But what's going to be his place now? He used to be the main president of the charter.
Exactly. He was. If you think about kings, he was the king. He was the king of
He was
everybody, of
he was
everybody.
the king. Exactly.
And Bishop is now the new king, which shit's gonna like get more bananas next season. So I still think Bishop might bite the dust later on. I was wrong about this season, but it's exactly like the if Marcus comes in is if Marcus comes in and he gets patched back in, then that one king thing is out the window because everybody knows who's the true king. That's like Return of the King, some Lord of the Rings
Correct.
shit. So I guess it would make. That's why I'm thinking it'd make more sense if like, because Marcus, even though I felt like he was going a little soft, it felt like he kind of. It feels like he might come back, right? The El Padrino, he might be back. That's why I'm thinking maybe like he goes against the banker, because Nestor is really Nestor knows the ins and outs of the cartel life. So I would think I don't know. I honestly don't know. But you're absolutely right. If it's such a big issue with Marcus and Bishop, not only because they're family, but let's get into it, Sandra. I think we should. I think we should get into it because the one thing that Marcus is known is to smooth everything over with the failed hit from Clay in Darby, but mostly Clay. He offered up his son to the Suns, and Happy did the deed. Son, do you want a churro? Like that's some ruthless shit, Sandra. Like I don't. Bishop just his what cousin? That was
Yeah.
his son. I think that's what everybody like started to recognize Marcus was just. I mean, that's the kind of narco shit. That's narcos right there. That's the kind of stuff I wanted for the Mayans. It's so crazy how Marcus was able to offer up his son who failed and still move on. It felt like he's just like, yeah, it is what it is. There we go. I did love how they did mention that at the in the Mayan season. That was much needed. But Sandra, that's some crazy shit. So like, do you think he still has that in him?
I do.
Yeah.
I Marcus has that. It's we didn't see it now because his role changed, but
Yeah.
he is a born leader and he knows what to do and he knows what's right from wrong. And yes, everybody who watches that say, well, that was wrong for him to offer his son to like be killed. But at the end of the day, he's the one who wanted to kill Clay. And it's something that he made the decision and then he has to live with it. But also the fact that for me, if he comes back as a king with
Mm-hmm.
Mayans, he is the most well respected from all the other charters.
Yeah.
So right now, no other charters respects Bishop. He is, and we see because they're all at the door and wanted to kill him. If
Yeah.
Marcus comes back and he is the new and he takes back his role of as El Padrino, he would be the only one that could actually talk down every single one of the charters, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
And that goes back to for what I was saying is the hand in hand, right? It's the club
Yes.
that is family and it's his actual family. So when you're put in that position and he sees the opportunity and he tries to, of course, him and Clay made that deal and, eye for an eye, like he knew that, okay, well, I got to offer up one of my family to help my other family, which is the club.
Yeah.
And it's a it's a crazy thing. I think a lot of people have issue with it because he kind of like did not. There was no remorse. There was no a scene where he was just kind of breaking down on that because that's a big decision. That's a huge decision. But I think I'm glad that Mayans. That's the one really good thing spot they did is they had him address that and while he's talking with his wife, right?
Yes.
So because it's still in his mind, of course it'd still be in your mind. Your son, and his son wasn't like two. He looked like he was maybe what 23, 25, somewhere
Yeah.
around there. I mean,
Around that.
yeah, so he raised him to that age, and us fathers know that like helping your son be raising your son that's a big thing. That's a big thing. So I'm glad that the season addressed that. Now let's talk about El Patrino, right? So if he comes back, here's the one thing that's in my mind is if he comes back, you got to remember there's a SOA war right around the corner. Right around the corner. It could, unless they like, I don't know, it'd be really dumb if they didn't really go all in on this war. And you're right. Bishop has the season. Bishop has been. That's my boy. I love Bishop. I thought character wise, great. Some of the scenes he chewed up. The actor, amazing. But when if he's gonna go to war with SOA, who else? I mean, it's a crazy thought since Alvarez and SOA are all cool. But if it leads up to this where it's another Mayans versus Suns war, just imagine a war where we're really into it, and it's like it's Alvarez versus Chibs. That's insane.
Like, if we all remember at season 7, Marcus sided completely with Sam Crow with the whole Jew story.
Yeah, yeah.
He didn't even bat an eyelash about what to do. Do I go with what Juice is offering me or Sam Crow?
Oh yeah, he straight out said I
Yeah,
don't make no deals with a rat.
exactly. So
Yeah.
that's one thing that you know that Marcus and Sam Crow, they're good. But another thing I wanted to bring up, and nobody talked about it, or maybe I missed it, is
Go for
that
it.
does Marcus know that Easy killed Ramos? Because
Uh
remember, Ramos is Marcus one of his boy because he's the one who put him to be president of the
yeah.
Stanton.
He
So
made two kings, and one of them was
exactly.
Ramos, and Ramos is of course
So
in Sons of Anarchy too. Let you guys know.
yes, he was there at the 7th. So now Marcus, does he know that? Because that came from Bishop and Easy. So there's a lot of secrets that we know as people watching, but
Yeah.
inside of them, do they know? Because now you have the death of Montez that it's still in one of those barrels in the clubhouse somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have killed Ramo with one of the king. Marcus coming in there, if he's becoming again the king, he's gonna have every other charter saying, "Well, your boy started killing our kings, our president. You cannot do that. You cannot do that."
Now, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. I want to welcome everybody to the chat, by the way. Be sure to push that like button. And also, if you're new to the chat, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We got more talks coming your way. We are talking Marcus Alvarez. I am here with the lovely Sandra, who is a huge Marcus Alvarez fan, and she makes such a great point. Shout out to Kevin, Orion. Beer next week. I'm going to have a beer next week. So, Sandra, I'm going to say this. So, I mean, how can he not, right? How can he not know? If he knows about everything else, how can he not know that the boy, Easy, took out Ramos, or that was his plan? But it seems like he doesn't know how the show is presenting it. Even if he does find out later on, let's say he doesn't know, right? Even if he finds out later on, I think Marcus likes Easy so much because he sees greatness and he sees what it needs to take later on down the road to maybe he sees maybe the future to the Mayans, right? And I think Bishop is starting to see that too, that this kid is such an asset that he wanted I don't think he would care. He would act like it, but I don't think he would really care if Ramos got dead, because Ramos is a guy who doesn't see the big picture, who's not a young buck no more. And Easy's that type of guy. And I think that's why also Marcus, didn't go with the hit as well, because he sees something in Easy. So even though Easy did kill Ramos, it's kind of like Marcus, right? Marcus did what he needed to do for the club. And that can go with his son too. He needed to make that sacrifice. And maybe he sees that Ramos' sacrifice will lead to bigger things for the club later on. That's my take on it, Sandra.
No, I do agree. I just I just hope that when he finds out everything, he thinks that okay, Easy did that for the good of the club and not because Bishop was on his
Oh yeah.
war path of taking out every king so he can be the only one,
Yeah.
because that's where you have the line, because at the end of the day, Easy should be listened to all what Bishop is asking him to do. On
Yeah.
the other hand, Easy is the bright mind that the club needs, because he's the one that saved when the drug was caught in Mexico to bring it back. He's
Yeah.
the one who thought about everything. It wasn't Bishop. If you listen to Bishop, they would have been all dead.
Exactly. And I think the hint of Bishop and Marcus is also, friction there. I don't think that's just like that one season. I think it's going to carry on to the next season. And then Easy, it's going to be interesting because a lot of people said, oh, maybe Easy gets his own charter, he becomes maybe the president if Bishop gets killed. I don't think he's there yet, but next season we might see that big step, more of a bigger step, and maybe we get a little bit more of a jealousy from Bishop. I don't know, Bishop, but I think those three characters are definitely intertwined to something to happen next season. Now you also got to remember who's the other king that Alvarez appointed and who's going after Bishop right now. So there's the other question of who is Alvarez siding with. He's going to side with. I mean, this crazy because things get turned upside down because he let Easy live. So obviously he likes Easy. He's with Bishop. He of course Bishop's his cousin. But then you have the guy he appointed to. Not only was it Ramos, but it was also Conchi, and Conchi's knocking on the door. Conchi's about to break in.
Well, Kanchi was supposed to be dead.
Supposed to be dead, and then
Supposed to be dead.
he resurrected himself. I don't
Which
know how he got out of there with this kid alive.
I was going to say there's no way he could have, like, to be honest, if I was in that moment, there's no way he would be alive because the whole garage blew up. So
Let's
how
just
did he? No, no.
let's just say he's a Targaryen. Okay.
Okay.
Let's just
Okay,
say
got
he's
it.
a Targaryen. So that's another wrench, right? Pun
Yeah.
intended. Another wrench thrown in there where okay, Alvarez, this thing's going on. Who are you siding with? Are you gonna go with Conchi or are you gonna go with Bishop? Uh what's because Conchi's still alive. So what happens there? What happens there? If let's say Easy and all them crew get out of that situation, right? And then now you still have the Civil War. You still have Kachi charters against Bishop and maybe a couple. I mean, Ibarra's dead. So what happens? Does Alvarez step in and say there ain't gonna be no more bloodshed? Or because that's not going to happen, because clearly that's not going to happen, because look at what happened to Ibarra and Diaz. Diaz still holds a grudge. And then now that's another thing. Now you got a conversation with Diaz. So, Sandra, what happens here? Does Marcus, is this another reason why Marcus might be coming back is El Padrino to really
Yes.
kind of like, because if you think about it, he, the things he's done over the years is for the whole general club, is for every charter of the Mayans, you know. It's kind of it's he's the president. He's El Presidente. This is his like this is his country, all the charters. So how does he stop this civil war, and how does he stop this beef? Even though this is gonna, what's gonna happen? What are some of your ideas, Sandra?
There there is only one way the war can be um there's no war is if Marcus is back, because Bishop lost all. Nobody trusted him. Nobody trust. He tried to play like 17 times the other charter. He lied to them 17 times. So there is no way any of the other charter's presidents gonna trust Bishop.
Mm-hmm.
None. And they saw what happened with Ibarra. He's dead.
Oh, he's
Conche
dead.
is
Yeah.
supposed to be dead, and Diaz doesn't trust him to save his life either. So if there's well, not if there is a war at the other side of the door, the only person that can save that is Marcus. But to your point with Easy and Bishop, I know a lot of people want Easy to be patched with VP or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
because we don't know what's going to happen with Taza either. But for me, I would keep Easy just the way it is and just use basically his brain and his mind to be able to be the one knowing what to do in circumstances. So I wouldn't touch that. And I think that's what Marcus likes about him. He's like, he's not flashy. He's not the one that
Yes.
talks a lot. He's like he's like you said. He sees a lot of himself in Easy.
A
That
silent
he will
leader.
a sign of leader by just the way he show himself, and he commands respect just the way he is. And I think that's why Marcus like Easy so much, because he sees himself. And on the opposite of Bishop, that is a hothead, and he takes decision because what is the best for me, not thinking about the consequences.
Yeah, and then also you're absolutely right. And then like Easy says he when he does something, it's through his actions that help the club, instead of like, just yelling about it. And I think you know what, there might be a little bit. This is just, it's not like obvious or anything like that. But there might be like, in my feelings, he probably sees maybe a little bit of a son in him, like
Yes.
an actual like, maybe that could have been my like, that he's thinking about his past son, but he sees a little bit of a fatherly and son kind of figure there. He's looking out for him, even though Easy has a pops and stuff. But it's a very interesting, it's very interesting what the Bishop and the Marcus and all this stuff is happening right now. Kevin, do you think Marcus can still lead the Mayans? He had knee and back pain in season 1, and his hand got destroyed by the Mercs. Can't ride, can't lead. You know what? That's a brutal scene, and that's another thing I like about Marcus. Is this is a good thing about the Mayans, is they showcased. So, and you got to remember too, looking back, Nestor helped find Marcus as well. Um, Marcus is a tough guy. This dude was getting tortured, and he believed in his crew to get him, but he never talked. He just took it. He took it, and that's what I really like about him too, Sandra, is that he's just that. It's a care. It's so crazy because he killed his own son, and you think this guy should be the absolute worst and the villain, but then you see his morals, you see his toughness, um, and you see him just hang in there. What'd you think about that
And
torture
he's
scene?
not and he's not the one that's gonna say, okay, I decide that and send somebody else. If he has to do the dirty, he will
Yeah.
do the dirty, or he will take it
Yeah.
for the rest of his charter and his family. That scene was brutal, completely brutal. And yes, and Kevin, you brought a good point, and that's what we were talking earlier, is that if he's back with Mayans, he cannot be the presidente of the, like, he can be the presidente, but he cannot be the leader because he cannot ride, he cannot do anything because of how he is. I
Yeah.
understand that. But also, if he can be the one, he is the great mind. He is the one, like Dan said, he is loyal, he thinks for his family, he thinks the big picture, and if that's the only way that he can stop that war that's coming in, I think I'm not I'm never lived in the biker world, so I don't know if there is a place into a club for somebody like Marcus that wouldn't be riding but can take decision.
Yeah.
But that would be, in my opinion, it's a need be if they want to save their charter, the Santo Padres charter.
Going for Mark real quick on the Isaac theory. I mean, I don't even want to talk like anything about Isaac yet because Isaac's whole S.O.A connection and all that stuff, and then also the Clay and conversation and stuff. I don't know what the writers are gonna do with that. Honestly, I don't know if they're even gonna. They have that there, but I don't know if they're gonna really like connect anything with it. I just gotta wait till season 4 on that one. But going back
My
to yeah, go
Well,
ahead,
just
Sandra.
to add on the Isaac thing, and that's why in the last stream that I was part of, that's what I brought up, that everybody forgot that Montez was dead. How can you not have SOA knocking at the door saying, like, where's my boy? He's
Yeah.
dead. We haven't seen him. And then we see the whole SOA tattoo on Isaac. So for me, that was the connection, that in season 4, there's going to be a connection between SOA, Montez, Isaac, and Mayans. But maybe I'm totally wrong on that. Maybe it's just me wishing something, but that's what made me the connection that we're going to hear about Montez back in season 4.
I
Well,
just don't.
not about him, but
Oh, you're good, Mark. You're good, Mark. You're good. You're good. Um, Maybe we'll dive into Isaac later on. I don't know. I just felt like if you were to connect that, my feelings on the finale. So I just felt like a lot of connections, a lot of storylines should have been like there on that season finale. But we'll see in season 4 for sure. So one of the scenes I really liked with Marcus too is you have this is a young Jax Teller with Opie, and they get captured, and then Jax makes his line when Marcus shows up. He's like, "Oh, you want to just get it over with, so I can, my mom's make. We're supposed to go to my mom's house and have dinner." And Marcus, with the smart ass, just he comes back, he's like, "Oh, am I invited?" I just love that line. But and then he just like says he tells the guys, the Mayans, to get Opie and Jax out of there, but take their cuts. And Jax says, you're gonna have to, kill me. You ain't taking my cut. And this is like macho with macho ness, right? One on one. And then Marcus pulls the gun on his head. He's like, you're gonna have. Jax is like, you gotta kill me because I ain't taking this cut off. So what does Marcus do? He's like, all right, that's. I think he respects young bucks like that, right? He respects like somebody who's willing to die. He obviously saw that, even though they're at war with sons, he saw that, Jax, that's his crew, that's his blood, that's he's his loyalty. Instead of killing him, he just spits. I mean, of course, he can't kill the main protagonist, but he spits on his vest, his cut, and then he sends him off. But that's the kind of character Marcus is. He respects other kind of macho ness there is, like loyalty and stuff. So that's why I see the little connection with him and Easy too. Is there a moment, Sandra, that you could think of back in S.O.A. Or even Mayans that you just really absolutely, other than the Clay and Showdown, that you absolutely loved with
well,
Marcus?
you have to say that, okay, so they were against each other. It was a war, but In and out, you had that connection of Marcus with Sons.
Hmm.
Like you had when they were Mayans wanted the Calavarez to be patched in, and
Hmm.
okay,
Yeah.
those are like that's my new boys. But then worked with Sam Crow to show that Salazar was a loose cannon, and what happened is Marcus helped S.O.A to get rid of him.
Hmm.
And then when Alvarez got shot, who took care of him? Sam Crow and Terra,
Tara.
removed the bullet into from him.
Yeah.
And then you have all those little ins and out between Marcus and Sam Crow that at the end of the day, even if they were against each other, there was a mutual respect between them. And that's what I loved about it.
Most definitely.
Because, and I mean, come on, would you ever think that Marcus Alvarez would agreed to tell the whole world that he was dead for 24 hours to be able to save Tara? Never.
Yeah.
Never would have happened if he didn't have that little respect that he had for Sam Crow and Tara. And like you said, that was Jack's wife.
Now that's a great, you know, that's a great writing process for this character because you could have easily killed him off, right? Could have
Yes.
easily killed him off, but they continue with this character, and then they evolve this character from being against the Suns, which I always like always going back and then that first episode, right? That first episode, it's Marcus stealing all the guns and stuff. It's just like, damn, there's this war with this guy, Mayans and Suns, and then later on through the seasons, damn, this guy's working with the Suns. It's a great flip in the head. That's the type of stuff when it comes to writing where it's kind of, I guess, once in a life, not once in a lifetime, but it's very rare to see that where, because they'll just most of the time writers will just like, okay, this war's over, we want to move on to other things, let's just kill off the our other character, and or like, kill off our villain, so to speak. And they don't do that with Marcus. They change him up. It kind of reminds me of Terminator. Hear me out, guys. It reminds me of Terminator because in the first movie, Terminator, Arnold Schwarzenegger was the bad guy. And then Terminator 2, Arnold Schwarzenegger was the good guy. And a lot of people didn't see that coming unless you saw the trailer. So it was a big surprise. But it was such a pleasant surprise. And of course, Terminator 2 is one of the best sequels of all time. So with Marcus, it was like, okay, this is the bad guy. And then Terminator 2 comes, right? And he's not a good guy, but we as the audience love Sam Crow and the Sons, and we want them to succeed even though they're criminals. When Marcus makes that kind of like help them out, then that automatically kind of makes him, I guess, a good guy in our eyes. So that's great writing. That's good. I'm glad that Marcus is, still around, Sandra. And I thought that, Taylor really thought he was dead. If I thought Bishop was dead, Taylor thought he was going to die this season. And I'm happy. I was like, there was foreshadowing on that, but I'm happy he's still alive. But I'll ask you this question. Do you see at the end of, let's say at the end of Mayans series, just overall the series of Mayans, do you see Marcus dying with not dying like being murdered or killed or anything like that, but just kind of like dying of old age, or in the series, or just having he's been through so much, just not being killed at all. Do you think that he just dies as like just growing?
So if you ask my opinion as a fan, I hope he doesn't die. I hope he's there until the end.
Yeah.
Story wise, I can see that if it's going to be one of the maybe next season cliffhanger or something along the line, I think that could be one of the scenario they bring up
Mm.
is something happening to Marcus. It could be like an accident, or it could be like Bishop maybe losing his cannon again and going for something else, and then it happens that he kills his cousin. I think they're gonna keep him. I hope he's gonna be more into the season than he was last one, because last one it was like, oh, um, he's back because you're thinking he's no longer there. But I hope he's more involved in season four. But I
Mhm.
think they might use him as a cliffhanger or a big storyline that will just make us all say like, oh my god, no way they didn't go that route.
Yeah, I mean, for me as definitely as a fan of Marcus, I want him to like have the Doc Holiday kind of death where he's just in the bed, you know, and he's just there's nothing violent, there's no shootouts, it's just him just like on the bed, just waiting for him to to go. That'd be nice, but I'm a big believer in consequences, and shit will come back and bite you in the ass, and that's why I believe that with Bishop's character. But with Marcus, all the things he's done, it's not like this is not this is not the life where consequences and karma doesn't come bite you in the ass anytime, because this will eventually. So with Marcus, it's going to be interesting going into season 4 and where the relationships go with Bishop, Easy, Nestor for sure. I mean, even Nestor is like another guy he really likes, right? So I could see, yeah, a cliffhanger or something happening at the end of season 4. I just hope, yeah, I do hope he gets definitely a bigger story. So let's start ending this cast by talking. I think we need to talk about this because this is going to lead into maybe what happens in season 4. Sandra, what is your thoughts on what? So Nestor and Marcus, what do you think about these two? What do you think about the decision of Nestor not killing Marcus? Do you think Mikey comes back in? You know, and kind of because Miguel has now knows, well, Miguel, if he finds out that Easy's still alive, he knows that Marcus didn't do it, or Nestor. So many people betrayed him basically.
Yes.
So what is your thoughts on what do you think about the relationship with him and Nestor? What do you think is going to happen in the future? We did talk a little bit about like Nestor may come into the Mayans, but that doesn't, kind of like, they would have to be a prospect, so that'd be a kind of a funny situation. He has a Nestor, by all means, knows the cartel in and out. You have the banker coming in. Like, what is your thoughts on Marcus and Nestor at this point?
Would you ever see Hank starting barking orders to Nestor?
No,
That
yeah,
would be funny,
and then
very funny.
Nestor and Angel had that little squabble
Yes.
too, and so there's some heat there as well.
Um, Nestor, and so let me put what I think. Miguel is gone in his helicopter, and God knows where he ends up. So now Nestor feels alone because his only family is gone.
Yeah,
So he has nobody else. He respects a lot Marcus, even though at the beginning he couldn't stand him because he was stealing his job. We all know that Nestor thought he was going to be the main guy for Miguel until he got replaced, and he didn't like that. But
here's the thing though. I did think he really respected Marcus. You saw that when Marcus gets captured too. That Nestor, I just never. I guess I never really had that crazy a feeling that he was gonna. I don't know. Especially like later on, I just really felt like Nestor and Marcus kind of formed a little bond there. But go ahead, Sandra.
they did form a bond and they understood each other. And then at the end, when they both decided, well, Mikey is my family, Easy's my family, they understand each other's family.
Yeah,
So now that Nestor doesn't have his family because he's gone, and to be honest, if Miguel has to come back to save something, it should be his son and nothing else. He should be going after Cristobal and try to find him instead of going back to his cartel and stuff like that. But that's just me.
yeah.
I do believe that Nestor will be involved with the Mayans, but I don't know if it's gonna be officially as a member of the Mayans or it's just gonna be somebody that's gonna be on the outside helping the guys. Because you can also have Nestor not being patched in or having a cut, but being the one that, you know what, I'm not related with the Mayans, but I can sneak in and like find information somewhere else to help Mayans and help the war and be like an ally to them. So that's what I think Nestor's gonna play a role in season 4, and I really hope to see more of him also.
Yeah, Elseworld multiverse. I could have saw like Marcus, El Padrino, and Nestor being a VP. That would have been crazy. Would have been great.
Ooh.
Elseworld kind of talk. I just don't see how that happening in the future. I really do feel like Marcus, uh, he might do something with the cartel. I just really, in my stomach, and Nestor's going to be there to help him out. We'll see. So Patrick Starr, hey Patrick, I really hope Alvarez expose. I really hope Alvarez exposes Diaz for saying Alvarez and Diaz created the Mayans together, and I didn't like that Diaz said S.O.A. was racist, yet they had a Mexican in the first 9. Now, I did say this, I think in our finale, Sandra, that, you know what, I don't think it was necessarily too much about race. Diaz says that, but I don't think it was necessarily too much about race. I think it was the fact that, and at the time, I think John was still president. I think, yeah, John, and then it was, and then Clay kind of took over. With Clay's taking over, it makes more sense. Like he wouldn't let Marcus or Diaz come in. I think it was more like they were scared of the of these two coming in, or at least Marcus. There might have been jealousy, because even looking at the Clay and Marcus confrontations throughout S.O.A., that Marcus could easily, if he was a Suns member, he could have easily been a leader, easily. You know, he might. That's a big question. Is would Marcus have been a better leader than Clay? Right?
Can I answer that with like 1,000% yes?
Yeah, you can.
Hundred
Like,
percent, 1,000% better than Clay.
so the racist thing, yeah, I know a lot of people are going to talk. I mean, Diaz obviously said it, and I will say I like Diaz as a character and the actor, and I think it would be just absolutely amazing to see scenes with him and Marcus in the upcoming season. But I'm going to say though that I think Clay definitely, I think some of the members would have thought, you know, this guy is a dangerous guy. This guy is quiet, but he's like what we've been saying. Like this guy has, you got to watch out for him. Like they would constantly, or at least Clay would constantly watch his back. So yes, maybe a little bit of the racist things. It doesn't necessarily make sense since they did have a Mexican guy in the was the first 9, I believe. But I think it was most just this is just like kind of speculating, honestly, because you can't really kind of go off of too much of what Diaz says because we don't know, unless we'll really know unless like kind of like they do a first 9 series or something like that, or even in time period with Clay and younger Gemma or something like that. But honestly, this is speculation. This is gut feeling. I think it's just because they were scared of Marcus. Honestly, maybe not too much Diaz. Diaz seems like he was always well, maybe yeah. He's a wild guy, That's just me. That's just me. NTVZ NT versus basically. Bishop isn't going to be too pleased with El Padrino coming back because he thought he was the only king. I think we covered that one, Sandra. It's definitely it's not ideal, right? It's just not ideal.
Well, it's funny because Bishop thinks he's the only king. Nobody else thinks of that. So,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
uh,
He thinks that Kanchi is done.
yeah, exactly. Conchi's done. Everybody's done. He's the new king, but I think he's the only one in Central Padre Charter that thinks that because that's what Easy and Angel repeated like one king, one king. But yeah, that's only them thinking that. I don't think anybody else thinks that. And I really do not believe that Marcus, as a leader and with everything that he's done, he would think that Bishop would be a good king, to be honest.
Yeah. He has this. He appointed 2. He
Yes.
appointed and then it was himself too. Like it's a system, And then Diaz, he has of Oakland. It's a system.
Yeah.
So it's Bishop definitely power hungry, and it's gonna bite him in the ass. And he has nothing to lose, right, Sandra? His son was is died.
Yeah.
His ex wife is gone. What does he have? He only has this. So I can see why the power hungry Bishop is going for like that. Scooter says Chucky's expected to come back for season 4. Mayans. That'd be cool. I mean, because the way they explained his disappearance, that makes it probably worse. They should have just never said anything then if he's coming back to season 4. So,
I still wonder why they picked Ohio. Like, where would you
oh,
like? It's not that like a visitor from Ohio came and say, "Chucky, I love you. Let's move back to Ohio."
well, I read something that the actor who plays Chucky, he actually moved to Ohio, so that's why I
Oh
think they
my
threw that in there.
God!
Yeah, so I think that's why they did that.
So Michael Oystein is the one that moved to Ohio. So Chucky moved to Ohio.
Yeah, I think that's what I
Okay.
read. And then the COVID protocol, COVID stuff. That's why he wasn't on and all that stuff. Um, Angie, they when they went to rescue Coco, they had the little blonde haired girl. I've seen her in the episodes, and she looks like she's needing help. She's just a kid. They need to go get her out of there. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the little girl who kind of, yeah, that is kind of odd that they always showed her. But as I learned this season, depending on if the writing's strong enough next season, they will introduce something or they'll set up stuff and it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't go. It doesn't really like it's just kind of there honestly until unless they do something next season. With the Isaac thing and I would even say like honestly, Emily's sister was just there for her to go run to her. But honestly, there's just really nothing there. Mark,
And I just want to point out that Iron Baron, he says not only that, Sandra, who in their right mind would marry Chucky? I don't know. Maybe there's some way somehow a girl who has a fascination with fake hands. I cannot
yeah.
tell you who would want to marry Chucky, but you know what? To each their own.
Listen, people do find love.
They
They
do.
do find love. The him meeting a girl at the bar doesn't really make sense to me. I see Chucky as an online man.
Good,
Uh,
good call.
Marcus jealous of possible takeover. Yeah, that's what we're talking about a little bit. Kevin, you think Marcus will beef with Easy for not coming clean about him helping Emily in season 2, or not a big deal in the grand scheme of things? He's gonna confront him if they get that chance. If Easy doesn't have any more plot armor, he's gonna confront him. They will have that talk. I don't see how that talk doesn't happen, right, Sandra?
Well, that's a very good point, but also not just the fact that helping Emily, but will Marcus come in front of Easy and ask him the reason why they killed Miguel's mom?
Yeah. So it's
That was never talked about. We're still on the limbo about the whole thing. The same thing as will we ever, will it always brings up the point that will we ever have the storyline that Miguel knows about
they're all brothers.
his, exactly.
That's what I'm
So
saying. That's what they present stuff, and it's never like resolved. It's kind of just left in the air, unless maybe next season. But it's kind of like, don't you think that should have just ended this season? Those questions should have been answered already.
I, to be honest, I am a very strong fan of if you start a storyline in one season, keep
Yeah,
it in that season and don't like prolong it for like 7 season and then it started in season 1, but you're gonna get your answer in season 7.
these things kind of need to have like it works if the series or they green light it for like 2 more seasons, right?
Yeah,
Best example is if you guys haven't seen it, it's amazing. People finally are talking about it, or finally did talk about it at the season finale. Invincible. Invincible is a series that was fantastic for season 1, but there were still loose ends at the end of the season. But Amazon, is it Amazon? Yeah, Amazon before that confirmed that there was going to be 2 more seasons. They greenlit 2 more seasons. So those storylines that were kind of like loose ends at the end could be addressed in these 2 seasons. That's how you could make it work. But with Mayans, it's a little trickier because the ratings are not that good. And you're like us this season. We're like kind of like, will they get another season or won't they? So I feel like if I'm the showrunner, Elgin James, I'm like, we gotta knock these storylines out because we don't know if we're gonna get another season. Um, Iron Bear says, I hate the fact that they are dragging the Civil War conflict for another season. I'd rather go straight into modern S.O.A. versus Mayans War. I'll hand this one to you, Sandra. What do you think about that?
Very good point. To be honest, my opinion again is that I want the story of season 4 being around Mayans and SOA. That is my hope and wish. So it's gonna. I'm afraid to say this, but not afraid, but I think it's gonna be like drag the whole this season, the
Mm,
whole war,
yeah,
because that's what when you left on season 3, that's the reason why you had that big panning of like all the charters outside the door. That's what they want. They want the war because
yeah,
Bishop basically started that. So that's gonna be the storyline. But I really hope that we're gonna bring back, and like you said, the whole Montez has to be resolved in season 4 during that civil war. We
yeah,
need to get out of that off the way because I I really hated the fact that okay, they kill Montez, then you didn't hear from him for a couple of episodes. Then he is found at the clubhouse. We put it into a barrel, we leave him there, and that's it.
yeah.
For me, it was so disappointed that you put some hints and you don't do nothing with it.
Well, the problem is there's two crows dead. There's Montez, and then there's his cousin that died at the party.
Yes.
This is a big thing. This is huge. This is so. Happy makes the courtesy call with Montez. There's friction and beef there, but it's crazy, right? So it's crazy. Like the Civil War, I agree. I hope my thought is the Civil War is going to end hopefully before the mid-season finale. Hopefully this is. I'm assuming they're going to get 10 episodes. You wrap up the Civil War in half that season, and then you move on, and then you sprinkle in, of course, the S.O.A. involvement, and then you really hammer home the S.O.A. stuff in the second half. But if you think about it, that's still not enough time. Still not enough time. So I don't know. And then the worst case scenario is they don't even do anything with S.O.A. That it gets resolved in a different kind of way, which I don't want to. Honestly, I don't want to see that. If you're gonna go all in, you go all in, right? You bring Tig back, you bring Chids back. Uh, you just bring them. I want to see more. If you're gonna involve Happy, of course. Happy's taking over for Packers charter though. I don't know. It would really disappoint the hell out of me if nothing happens. So we'll see though. The Civil War, yeah. Well, I could see the Civil War going through the whole season too.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's get a couple more comments. Kevin, Chucky's cute and charming. Lots of ladies will love his little quirks. Realistically, him jerking off in public, I don't know. I don't know if they could stand that. Mark, I wish there was a original pilot with Marcus as a son named Hawk. As a son named Hawk. Huh. I don't get. I wish there was an original pilot of Marcus as a son named Hawk. Do you understand that one, Sandra?
No. Well, is the name of his son like right now? Because the first one it was essay.
Isaiah or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. He has a daughter too. He has a daughter, and then of course his wife. Let's see real quick. I don't
Yes.
think so. I think. Well, he's taking care of. Was it Paco's son? He took in Paco's son, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. So Isaiah was his son, and Tessa is his daughter. Um.
Original cast was him named Hawk.
Well, he was saying I think he's saying like if they did a original pilot or something. I don't know, something.
Yeah.
You got to remember too, guys. Sons of Anarchy. I believe they had to redo the pilot. Same with Mayan season one too.
Yep.
Will Easy have a new lady? I hope they don't go back to Emily and Easy. I just hope. Oh, God, pull my hair out if that shit happens. Iron Baron. I hope Taza told Bishop about Montez. That story needs to be resolved and led into. That could very much happen. That could very much because I called that shit, Sandra. I didn't call it on the podcast. I didn't say it on the podcast, but when I was replying to a lot of the comments, I said that Taza. The only way anything comes out is if Taza confesses himself to either Bishop or somebody, and he did it. He did it. So maybe he tells. That's the time, right, to tell like Montez is in a barrel. So Bishop has the heads up that holy shit, or what are you talking about? Um, that's Taza has to tell Bishop that, or nobody else.
I think he must have like because we didn't see the whole conversation because between when he said what he had to say and the gunshot that we still don't know if it came from inside the clubhouse or outside the doors, he must have said something else. But I think that if he was going to say everything he had on his heart, then that was part of it too.
Yeah, yeah, it has to be. It's partially FX's fault they don't care enough about the show to promote it heavily and produce merch. Yeah, we absolutely talked about that. I would love to do giveaways for Funko Pops or T-shirts or whatever for Mayans, but there's nothing out there, guys. There is nothing. There's hardly anything for Sons either. Like just the figurines. They got a couple Funko Pops, but some of them are rare. So I ain't paying $250 for you guys. I'm sorry.
Get me a Marcus Alvarez Funko Pop, please.
They do customs. They do customs. So maybe I'll try to
Yeah.
find somebody to do customs. But I'm sorry. I would, Sandra. I've been wanting to do a giveaway for S.O.A. or Mayans, and I probably will when season 4 starts hitting. I'll find something. But it's just a shame that there's just not any of these cool, just cool merchandise out there. I will let you guys know there's a I believe it's called Virtual Con that's coming up. If you guys have Sons of Anarchy memorabilia, I'll probably put a link in the description box. You could send out. There's a date where you can send your personalized items or get an autographed photograph. Where Mr. Ron Perlman, Clay himself, is doing signings, and everything's opening up now. So you'll get conventions, live conventions, people gathering now. So they started doing these virtual signings and stuff. So I would take advantage of that because I don't know if they're going to continue to do that later on when we're all clear to go and COVID's over and stuff. So this is a good. It's East. Of course, you have to pay, but you can send your personalized pop, book, whatever, shirt, and Ron Perlman will sign it for like a fee. So and then you'll get it shipped back to you and you'll have a signed product. So yes, that's I'll have the link in the description box so you guys could do that if you want to. But yeah, man, I'm thinking about getting a clay pop and getting it signed. That'd be really cool. They have Brendan Fraser on there and the Justice League animated show too. So sometimes you could do one-on-one chats. It's like $100 for 3 minutes. I know the voice of Batman, Kevin Conroy, is on there as well. So, but yeah, Sandra, I will do a giveaway for Mayans when the season starts coming back around. But it sucks that there's really no merch out there.
No, and their DVD sets are very poor quality compared to everybody else. Like literally, they don't have
Yeah.
deleted scene. They don't have like gag reel. They have nothing. It's literally
Documentary,
just
yeah.
they have nothing. It's literally just the episodes. I'm like,
On,
who does that anymore?
Honestly, now you just go to YouTube and try to find somebody who's uploaded like a lot of these different kind of stuff. Especially
Yeah.
that's how I was watching the behind the scenes on the Mayan season 1. That's why I gotta critique Kurt Sutter a little bit here because he was really somebody who gave the reins to Elton James. He really was hands on. You could see how stressed he was on that behind the scenes documentary. If you guys haven't seen that one yet, I'm sure you guys have. I hate the fact we didn't get more scenes with Louis from Dogwood Crew. Louis from Dogwood Crew. And Mark says, did Marcus ever know that Romeo was a Fed? Did he, Sandra? I can't remember.
Oh my God. I
I can't
don't.
remember.
I cannot remember, to be honest.
That was kind of like, yeah. I don't remember. I don't. I honestly don't remember.
Mm-mm.
SOA is like Mayans. They never checked on Coco. SOA is like Mayans. They never checked on Coco. Huh.
Yeah,
That's.
S.O.A. if they didn't check on on Montez is like Mayans never
Oh,
checking on
okay,
Coco.
okay. Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah, exactly right. Oh my God, that's man. The writing needs to get stronger next season. Just got to say. That was from Sinister. Let's see. We got a couple more in. Let's see. Mayans for the win. I think Chip should return on sort of a Marcus Alvarez role when he was in SOA, or you think that would lessen Chib's character. So I think Chibs should return if they do a spin-off with Abel and Thomas in that role. I don't think that's right for the Mayans season, unless they do the full-on war, which makes sense to bring most of the cast back, right? Um, but I think I think Chips that role should be if they do a Abel and Thomas spinoff, which could still happen. Mark said the original cast was him named Hawk. Okay, so I guess like he was originally named Hawk. I don't like that. I don't like that. I like Marcus. Uh, yeah, they bring Tig back. Pulley has to bring Venus Van Dam back. Yes, of course. You talk about Walter Goggins, who is amazing, by the way. Okay, so we're gonna start ending this cast right now. I just wanted because I want to talk real quick. I want to talk real quick on the actor himself, Emilio Rivera. 60 years old, in the business for a very long time. Has a beautiful wife. I believe he has. I think he has 3 kids. I believe he has 3 kids. Let me see right here. Yeah, he has 3 kids. Um, this guy, I, I I think Amelia, man, he really brought this character to life. Um, I would love to meet this guy and have him autograph something, maybe a custom pop. I don't know. But yeah, his he's been in a lot of stuff. He's been the most recent thing I saw him that I was like, hey, that's Marcus was Venom. I don't know if you ever saw that movie, Sandra, but he was the security guard guy.
I have not.
He was in Venom. He just has a lot of work. He's done a lot of stuff. I mean, 10 Cent Pistol, Bullets, Street Kings, Spider-Man 3. He was in Spider-Man 3. Fun with Dick and Jane. I think I remember him being in that. This dude, which is funny because he was in like this thing called El Padrino as well. Bruce Almighty, A Man Apart. A Man Apart's the one with Vin Diesel. Traffic. These are one notable ones. He was in Con Air. I think I remember him in Con Air with Nicolas Cage, the Cable Guy. This guy has a lot under his belt as a not a main guy, but he's been in a lot of productions. And you know what? His years active. He's been in business since 1992. He's been in business since 1992. So I'm super happy for Emilio to get this breakout character. Because let's say the other roles are not going to bring him a legacy, right? But this role gave him a legacy. And he's a type of guy, we talk about diversity nowadays. I think diversity to me has to be organic, right? I think casting has to be organic, whatever fits the character. But with Marcus, Emilio, he is the character. He is who I think this face is in my mind. His everything he does, his mannerisms. But when you watch this guy in interviews, that's exactly how he is. So I'm super happy for this actor to get a role like this and to be recognized throughout, right? And to have leave a legacy like that. So Sons of Anarchy will always be there. Mayans will always be there. and he's one of the main players, and he's one of the most important players in the game, in this SOA universe. So kudos to this actor. I just got to say, just got to thank the hell out of him to really present this character and to really like make it his own and make me really love this character so much.
I agree with you. Like I said, when I started watching SOA, I was, of course, watching Sam Crow, and everybody knows my favorite character was OP. I was an OP girl since
Mm-hmm.
day one. But Marcus is always a character that I never forgot. There's characters that come and go, and you're like, what was his name? Like,
Yes.
but you cannot say that watching SOA you ever question who was the leader again of Mayans? You knew Marcus Alvarez. He
Mm-hmm.
was there. He his character, and when you were talking about how the way he talks so softly, but he is to the point and commanding respect. And that character will definitely be his legacy for everything. And they could have picked any better many better actor to play that character.
Yes, and it's when no disrespect to JD Pardo, all the cast from Mayans, but when I still hear or say Mayans, it's still Marcus. It's still
Oh, for
Marcus.
sure.
It's still Marcus. Aaron Barron. Yes, he was in Spider-Man 3, but I'm telling you right now, he was in Venom. I absolutely remember. It was the scene where Tom Hardy and Venom are taking out all, like, pretty much kind of like the SWAT team. Go back and watch that scene. He's the, like, kind of the security guard before that major action sequence. So he was in Venom. I'm telling you, he was in Venom. Um, Sandra, I want to thank you just for joining me and talking Marcus Alvarez, the spotlight on Marcus and Emilio Rivera.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It was so much fun talking to another Marcus fan and talking to all your the people who came to watch this live stream, and
Exactly.
it's so much fun. So thank you again.
Yes, thank you guys. Thank you all for joining us. We have there's going to be a big major announcement hopefully in the upcoming weeks. Just to let you guys know, I'll be going to Vegas next month, so there'll be a week. There'll be like half a week without any content. Well, you'll have content. You'll have me partying and getting drunk. I'll probably do some live feeds or something like that on my phone. But next week, I'm hoping next Thursday. So, Sandra, I asked you if you wanted to be on board. Taylor will be joining us as well. SOA talk. So if you guys have any questions on Sons of Anarchy, it's really kind of like a shooting the shit kind of cast where we're drinking a little bit or so whatever, snacking, and we're gonna read all your guys' comments, your guys' thoughts on Sons of Anarchy, questions. You could even lead it to Mayans if you like. So I want to do that. I want to just talk Sons of Anarchy, everything Sons of Anarchy next Thursday. Does that sound good, Sandra?
Sounds like a plan to me.
Heck yeah! So we'll do that, and then there's going to be another project I'll be doing for Sons of Anarchy, of course, that I have in mind. So wait for the announcement on that. I might actually do a personal Q&A sometime in the future as well, so you guys can come join me. We could just get to know me more, talk, and the questions and stuff. Let you guys know the channel. It's about everything: pop culture, TV, movie, even music. We have I have movie reviews up and going right now. Other TV reviews as well, some tribute videos. The next movie review is going to be A Quiet Place 2. I cannot wait to watch that movie. I'm hoping that it's better than the first one. I did really enjoy the first one. I do have the Army of the Dead review up and going. And I'll also do Cruella. Cruella is going to, I think, will be coming out pretty soon on Disney Plus. I'll be watching that as well. And then Star Wars Bad Batch, I should say, be happening. And then, of course, NFL is back on. So Oakland, Las Vegas Raiders. I'm a big Raider fan, so I'll be doing a lot of talks on the Raiders. So, but and then of course, Mayans talks gonna be coming up. I'm pretty sure we're gonna get some more news, the date, filming, all that good stuff later on. So yeah, there we go. There's my plug right there. Thank you guys. You guys have a good rest of your day, a good weekend. Enjoy, and I will see you next week when we get into some SOA talk, and be posting a couple questions for you guys, videos on the channel. So thank you, Sandra. You have a good, wonderful day. I'm Dan the Man, aka Daniel, signing